Hey there, Bulldog fans. I'm Millie Sauber, bringing you this week's Butler Scoreboard. The Butler women's volleyball team is on the road this weekend. The Lady Bulldogs are at Seton Hall Friday for a Big East match. The squad travels to St. John's for a match on Saturday. The Butler football team heads to the West Coast this Saturday for a game against San Diego. The Butler men's soccer team will host St. John's in the Butler Bowl on Saturday. The Lady Bulldogs swim team goes to Purdue for the Indiana Intercollegiate Meet. The Butler women's soccer team will battle Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska. Should be a great weekend for our Bulldogs. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm Millie Sauber.
You don't have to be a star athlete to participate in athletics at Butler University. Intramurals and club sports are another way to get involved, and they are more prominent now than ever before. I'm Matthew Van Tryon, and I am with Scott Peden, the Director of Recreation. So first of all, I was wondering, can you explain your role in the Recreation Department, how long you've been involved, and specifically what your role is when it comes to intramural sports?
Well, I've been at Butler since July of 2005, which was a year before the HRC was built, and so I got to come in at literally the ground floor level and basically hire all of our programming staff, which includes aquatics and the fitness components, select a lot of the equipment and all the things that people probably don't really think about. But we have a staff, I'm one of 7 full-time staff, and then we have close to 200 students that work for not only the facility but the programs as well. My role is really to be captain of the ship, so to speak, and kind of guide the department in terms of keeping ahead of trends, technology, budgets, policy, new ideas in terms of programs and what we can do as a department strategically. Eric Kmeyer is actually oversees directly Intramurals and Clubs sports, and he came to Butler, I believe it was 4 years ago. So as it relates to Intramurals and Clubs, I really try to just be an advocate, supporter, make sure that the students and the staff of that program have the resources that they need to be successful.
So what would you say is the mission of intramural and club sports?
I think not maybe in a technical aspect, but I think the mission is really to kind of fill the gap from, for instance, we have, I think it's close to 2/3 of students at Butler's campus were varsity athletes in high school. So for a lot of the students, they come to college and they want to continue that competitive mindset and spirit, and so few of them are able to actually play Division I level, especially at Butler. So they want to be able to keep that competitive flow going. And so on intramurals, you have so the students competing against each other in a number of different sports, both that take athletic skill and then others that don't, like euchre, table tennis, sports trivia, those kinds of things. And so the mission really is to make sure that they have that competitive programming available, and it's fun, to compete against other students. Intramurals is really, we play, say, intramural basketball for a period of, say, 4 or 5 weeks, and then it's over, and then we move on to a different sport. Try to have something for everyone, so to speak. The clubs is a step up usually from intramurals in terms of competitiveness, and those clubs are typically, again, varsity athletes that want to continue at a even higher competitive level, competing against other university club teams as well. So we have, I think, 15, maybe it's 16 club teams now, and for the most part they all compete against other universities, not only in the state but regionally and sometimes even nationally. And those teams really govern themselves, so they choose when they want to practice, they determine if they want to coach, do they not want to coach, where do they want to play their games and matches, what kind of league do they want to participate in, what kind of dues might they have, what their uniforms will be, all that. So it's a great leadership opportunity for the students, and again, the competitive piece is year-round, so it's a step up even from intramurals.
And you mentioned that there are those students who may have been varsity athletes in high school, but then they come to the college level and they can't compete. Have you seen students that maybe they come to Butler and they know they can't compete at a collegiate level, but their decision to come to Butler has been influenced by the fact that they can participate in these other activities?
Absolutely. I don't have the raw data on it, it's anecdotal evidence, but we probably have between, I would say, 10 to 20 students every year that we hear from during some point in their time at Butler saying, if it weren't for this. A lot of times it's, I want to go to Butler, I've got 3 other schools that I'm looking at, what's the difference? And having the club program or an intramural sport, seeing that it's a part of the fabric of campus and how excited they are to see that, along with the facility, the HRC itself, a lot of them say that that's kind of what tipped their decision to Butler.
And to go along with that, intramural participation has kind of exploded recently. It went from 951 users in 2005 to over 3,000 last year. And so what would you attribute to this explosion?
I really think it starts at the top with Eric being the professional staff member that came on board. I believe it was the fall of 2009, and so when you look at our bar graphs and charts and whatnot that show that raw data, the participation that you refer to, it really was at a certain point. And then when Eric came, we stole him from Purdue. He was doing intramurals up there, and before that he was at IU. So he had a lot of big school experience, and so his standard of what an intramural program should be was really high. And so I think that was great to insert him into our team at the HRC, and really just comes from him in terms of making sure that the officials and staff are well trained, making sure they have uniforms, stripes that look official, taking them to other schools to see how other places do it, really focusing on the training aspect, because we always felt that the participants would really feel very competitive, like it was not a joke, that this was really a good, solid, quality program if the staff took it seriously as well and they actually were able to do their job. So all that goes into also things like the championship nights that we have for the different events. We do game programs. We have individuals who sing the national anthem. Those things that would replicate as close as we can to the Division I experience. And what we try to say is we want to create memorable moments for the students. And so when they look back on their time at Butler, if you got to play, and even if it was co-rec championship basketball game and it was in Hinkle, that was your chance to play on the court. And we have 100 to 200 people that come for it. And it's just a really neat thing, and they can look back on that with a positive moment, I think.
And also, for those viewers that may not know, can you kind of explain where intramurals are played, both obviously the indoor and the outdoor?
Yeah, indoors is for basketball, 3-on-3 basketball, volleyball. Those are all, and dodgeball. We do play dodgeball. That's all in the gym of the HRC. We do table tennis, which we call the living room area of the HRC. And then our outdoor sports, flag football, ultimate frisbee, kickball, softball, flag football, soccer, all those are on the outdoor fields across the canal, which is now I think being sometimes referred to as West Campus.
And has the increase in participation caused some hesitancy or concern as far as the space is concerned?
Yeah, I think anytime there's change, it's going to cause a little bit of anxiety from the users, and so I think especially from the students, it's just a little bit of anxiety in terms of what's the end outcome going to be. And we've tried to do the best that we can in terms of keeping them informed of what we know that's going on. And I think in the end it's going to be a great improvement to the overall area. But in the meantime, it's, again, causing a little bit of anxiety in terms of when the students go out there, they're not maybe have been sure where they need to park. The I lot now is on what used to be one of the intramural fields. So if they haven't participated yet and they show up, it's kind of like, what's going on? So it's just a matter of educating them about the changes and then making sure that they know that in the end it's going to be a great thing, but in the short term there's going to be some logistic kind of questions that come up.
And who are some of the key decision makers in the project to construct the I-Lot, and how have they played a role as far as informing the students about how the project is going to be completed going forward?
The key players, it's really a university-wide effort in terms of BUPD, in terms of parking, policy enforcement, There is a parking committee on campus. I'm sure they have, a lot of input. Ultimately, the I lot and that whole area, I think it was a capital project of sorts that is even run by the Board of Trustees. So it's truly a university wide deal with the administration, and then it kind of filters down to everyone else. So certainly, the users and myself, aren't necessarily always going to be at the decision-making level. So it's really up to us just to find as much information as we can and then relay that on to the students.
And are there plans to renovate the fields in the near future in order to accommodate for the increase in participation?
The latest that I've heard is I think we've got amount of space. It's just a matter of upgrading what we have so that it lasts and that it's playable safe that can be playable space that can be maintained and improved, because the less space that you have, the more it's going to get beaten up, because as you said, the participation isn't going to go down anytime soon. So in terms of square yardage, acreage, we're fine. We just need to make sure that what we have is maintained and hopefully upgraded. So the latest is that there are proposals and plans to move forward with some upgrades that I think will be really great.
And why is it important to continue to make intramurals and club sports a priority on the Butler campus?
I think, there's several points. One is obviously the recruitment piece, like what you mentioned a few minutes ago with the question about there's always a number of students who come to Butler because that is an option. Academics is obviously a huge part, and you could list probably 50 things of things why students choose the school that they go to. But I think in this day and age, students really want to go to where they feel like they can fit in. And that's a part that I think people sometimes miss, is the social aspect of these programs. Is most of what we do are team sports, and so it really provides an opportunity for students to say, hey, you've got an interest like I do, let's form a flag football team. We see huge participation amongst the residence halls, and we always hear that a lot of times those are the friends that they have the rest of their time at school. In terms of clubs, again, it's finding another group of students, 20, 30, 40 students sometimes, that have that same interest. It could be even as something like equestrian. People don't even maybe think of equestrian as a club sport, but there's 15 guys and gals that's what they love, and especially for them, finding other students that enjoy that same activity, it's really important. So kind of getting in where you fit in kind of thing, the social aspect, obviously the mind and body well-being. Study after study has always shown that when students are active and engaged in athletic or fitness endeavors, their GPAs tend to be higher, their stress levels tend to be lower, they're just healthier overall. So those are the kinds of intangible things that we like to point out as well. But anymore, it's such a traditional programming aspect of most universities that if we didn't have it, I don't think the quality of education, especially co-curricular-wise, would be where it is.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and best of luck as you go forward.
You're very welcome.
Thanks again to Scott Peden. This has been Matthew Van Tryon for the Bulldog Blitz.